We're back for episode 2 of the 150cc turbo go-kart build, and this is where the fun really begins. So in episode 1, we completely modified our frame. We added some longer LCAs at the front, and we have almost 90 degrees of steering lock on this thing. If you haven't seen that video, definitely go back and watch it. But after that episode finished, I may have spent a couple of late nights scrolling through eBay looking at parts, and well, I bought a couple of interesting items that are gonna take this thing to the next level. Ooh, that'll be them now. Ah, perfect. For some reason, I'm more excited for parts for the drift kart than I am for parts for the real cars that we have here. But first up, we have a rear wing for this thing. Now this is the smallest rear wing I could find on eBay, and this is actually for a normal car, believe it or not. I don't know what car would have a wing this small, but it's 1.1 meters wide, which is so cute. But I'm thinking it's going to be almost the perfect size for our drift kart. It might be slightly too wide, but I don't mind that too much because I'm going for the slightly over the top exaggerated look with this thing anyway. But this is going to be such a cool addition to our kart. But the fun doesn't stop there. I feel like we need to balance out the front of the kart if we're going to have a big wing on the back. So I went ahead and brought a front lip for this thing. So in true me fashion, I didn't do any measurements whatsoever with this thing. I just bought this off eBay, but I'm pretty sure we should be able to make it work. But this is actually a full front lip for a proper car. But let me show you how I think it's going to work. So I reckon we place these somewhere like this. Basically, we'll have a bracket that comes out from under here. These will bolt to the bracket, and we'll have them sitting as low as possible to give it that full slammed vibe, but that looks pretty darn cool. But because this is a full front lip that came for a proper car, it actually had extra bits with it. That's these guys right here, but I reckon we can make use of these. So because we're going to have a front splitter and then we're going to have a rear wing, we kind of need some side skirt splitters as well. A little bit like what we have on our Project Aero side skirt splitters here on our Lamborghini. So I'm thinking these guys can go somewhere under here, and then we can cut them to shape at the back here, slip this guy under here, and I think that this will look pretty freaking cool, especially with the wing on the back. But I'm definitely getting a little too G'd up and too ahead of myself here. So before we go ahead and start cutting and modifying anything, we actually have to fix a mistake we made in the last video. So in the last video, we modified and lowered our foot mounts, and they actually look so much better. But you guys pointed out a big mistake that I made, and that is, of course, the fact that I have the front wheels sitting on wood here. So the front is actually lifted up this much more, which means when we put this on the ground, this is basically sitting on the ground as well because we didn't compensate for this height here. Well done, Mike. Luckily, I've got all you guys watching to point out my mistake, so we can go ahead and fix that before it's too late. Those steps are only tacked on as well, so I can go ahead and modify them and fix my mistake before we got too far down the line. And that's all thanks to you guys. I read every single comment, so feel free to leave a comment, anything you're thinking, whether it's a criticism or just the fact that you're enjoying the video, let me know. I always enjoy it. Also, feel free to like this video because, come on, it's a drift kart and it's about to have a wing and a front lip on it, so who wouldn't enjoy that, you know? Actually, before we do that, let's do a quick test fit of the wing just because my ADD's got the better of me right now. We've got a couple of our axle stands sitting here. Oh yeah, definitely that's gonna be good. Love that. I think the height's quite good. Like, we could run it higher, but like, I don't know, I'm kind of keen on the low, wide kind of look. A little bit drag style, I guess. That is so cool. All right, to weld these side steps, we can't actually have the kart on the table anymore because it's too wide for the table, hence us using the wood. So let's get it on the ground. How good. It's so good to see this thing on the ground, and check out how much freaking lock we have. Like, it's actually wild to see it there on the ground. It's so much more. And now I'm definitely 11 out of 10 excited to ride this thing for the first time. But clearly we've got a lot of work on our hands before we get to that stage. So currently the kart is actually sitting on the ground. So yeah, we need to fix these foot plates. All right, we are ready to re-weld these side steps on. Now, a lot of people ask me in the comments which welder I use. So I use this tiny Unimig Viper 120 MIG welder. I bought this in a whole kit, including the gloves and the welding helmet and everything like that, and that was $449. And that's all you need to start doing your own projects. This welder literally built most of this Slambo. Proof that you don't need a crazy big fancy welder to do all of the fun stuff. So I definitely could use a little more skills in the welding division, but yeah. Let's get welding. So our foot plates have been raised, and I also dialed out a little bit of the camber in the front end. And I'm officially happy with how the frame looks. So now we can move on to the fun stuff. So we get a block of wood and we get our front lip. And now we need to figure out exactly how this is going to sit. So ideally we'll have it sitting somewhere like this, but these little points here are going to get in the way. So I reckon we can kind of clearance these out a little bit and make it still look pretty natural. And that way we can have the lip sitting nice and close to the cart, because to get clearance for those, we'd have to have the lip sitting quite a ways out. And I'm not really a fan of how it looks when it's too far away, because it kind of looks a little bit disjointed with the cart. So we'll grab our marker here, and we'll just gonna basically have it running through so that that point gets nipped off. Maybe take as much off as we can whilst keeping it looking natural. Actually, I've decided this wood is not low enough. Yep, that's definitely low. So next up, we need to do a little more chopping, because we need to get rid of this center part in here. So I'm gonna mark that out so that these two pieces fit perfectly together like a jigsaw puzzle. So if my measurements are correct, you should go here, and this guy should go here. Kind of looks like a mustache. Looks good though. That's gonna be sweet. By the way, for anyone wondering, this lip kit cost me $45. And I think the rear wing was $127 on eBay, so not bad. Now we've got to make the brackets that hold our front lip on, and we're just gonna use this. But basically, we're gonna weld it under the LCA, and it's gonna bend down and come out. Hopefully it doesn't look too ugly, but I can't think of any other way to mount our mustache, so let's see, how high do we want this off the ground? All right, I think 15 millimeters is gonna be the smart move. So we measure the height of the LCA, 60 mils off the ground. So 60 minus 15 is where we put the bend. Grab our SP Tools measuring tape, beauty. And we measure the distance from the LCA to under our front lip, maybe somewhere like there. It's 300 long. So we put our bend approximately 40 and then 300 long. Boom. Oh, that's a bit dodgy. So instead of that 90-degree bend design that I just did, I decided to go for just a slight kink in it like this, and I'll show you why. So initially I was gonna have it bend straight down and come out like you saw, but I didn't think it looked very good, and I think that this slight kinked design with an angle down is actually better because it gives us more clearance under here. I'll weld these on, and then maybe it'll make more sense to you guys when we fit the actual lip to the brackets. So once again, we're using our piece of wood on the ground so that we have both of these at the exact same height. She's welded. Alright, so that's both of our brackets welded on. Looks pretty good. And last up, we have these middle brackets. So we've got two of them, and they're literally just going to weld in nicely under here in the center, not wonky like I've got them right now. And that should be it for the brackets. Alright, the brackets are looking good. Let's have a suss and just make sure that everything kind of sits how it's supposed to. Hell yeah, the mustache is looking good. So as you can see, it all looks pretty nice, but I think what we're gonna have to do is weld on like a little extension bit that goes out under here. I don't wanna do another bracket going out here because I think they will just look a little bit janky. I actually don't mind the way these look, especially once these are painted. I feel like they'll kind of disappear, which is cool, but this is a bit floppy down the side here. So what I'm thinking is we'll get some more steel and we'll weld a piece out here so it'll be hidden, but it'll hold the side of our front lip and make it all look nice, neat, and tidy. All right, time to drill some holes, chuck some riv nuts in, and bolt this thing down. Lip brackets are now done, and they turned out way better than expected. When we do the final chassis welding and all the chassis prep, I'm gonna round off all the sharp edges on them as well, but now we're officially ready to bolt the front lips onto the Kart for the first time. Of course, we got to be fancy, so we're using our purple dress-up washers on these. Fingers crossed it all lines up exactly how I hope it does. As always, we're using the coolest tool in the SP Tools toolbox. Honestly, this thing comes in handy so much. The world's smallest ratchet. All right, big reveal. Are you ready? Whoop. Boom. Dang. That actually looks freaking sick. Look at that, those dress-up washers are such a good touch. I will admit, I was kind of unsure whether this would actually work and look good. Give you a quick side view here. Looks sick. But now, of course, we need to go ahead and fit the wing on this thing so we can balance the whole thing out. All right, first up, we need to set the height. I like using these axle stands because they wind up and down, which makes it really easy to set heights on things. Very handy. Put the other guy over here. Now I've fitted the fuel tank back onto the back of the Kart, just so we're not going to build anything that's going to obstruct the fuel tank. Because it's always the worst thing when you do a whole lot of fab work and then you go to throw everything back together and realize you've put something in the place of something else, which I've done on this Kart many, many times. So our beautiful eBay wing came with these stands. I've gone ahead and bolted them on. I slightly modified them and drilled some new holes in them so they're going to work better for our wing stands that we are about to make. Before we mount this thing, let's go ahead and do a comparison of the Lambo wing, which is like 2 meters wide, and our new drift kart wing. Look at the difference. That is so funny. This wing is freaking tiny. You could almost do like a double wing. Oof. Look at that, mate. Double Aero on the Lambo. That looks so stupid. All right, enough faffing around. Let's sit this thing in position so we can figure out our wing mounts. All right, so basically, I mounted these stands here so they're perfectly in line with where we're going to run our new pieces of metal off the frame. So somewhere around there, this thing is going to look so freaking funny. But I definitely dig the look. I like the low wing at the back. I was gonna go like really high, but low and wide is just so good. This is definitely some Mario Kart looking shit right here. So to make our stands for the wing, what we're gonna do is weld metal off the frame that goes all the way back. Then we're gonna have to weld some flat plate that goes up, and we'll have to weld a reinforcement that comes off the back here as well. Making sure once again that it doesn't obstruct anything on the Kart, but I think I have a good idea for how it's all gonna go. But I'm way too excited to get this thing mounted, so let's get fabricating.
We're using box tube for the base of our wing plates. A quick measurement for the length that we need, making sure that we allow for the plates to sit back on a nice angle, and we're ready to cut our steel.
So we now have our 2 pieces of box tube cut and ready to go. So we'll essentially slide these bad boys in here so that they meet up with our frame under here, just like that. We'll do the same on the other side. And then essentially our wing plates will go from here up to here. It's a pretty simple setup, but why go overboard if we don't need to? Now to get the angle of the plate from here to here perfect, we once again rely on our CAD design, or cardboard aided design. It's always super handy. A cardboard goes down on a metal, like so. Mark here, mark here. Then if we're smart, we can actually just mark one more mark down the bottom, and we only have to make 3 cuts instead of 4 because this angle is exactly the same. Check that out, we've got our thick boy end plates, looks sick. Now we're making sure that the distance front to back is exactly the same.
Once we've got the base steel welded, I triple check the height of each side of the wing, making sure it was perfectly level and sitting in the right spot before we go ahead and weld up our wing end plates. Then I marked out where we need to drill our mounting holes, making sure I mark the plates left and right so we don't get them mixed up.
Time to drill some holes. Very good. All right, time to weld them on. Quick sip of kamikaze for a little bit of motivation. This is the creaming soda flavor, absolutely delicious. Also the cans look awesome. Not that that matters very much, but it matters to me, so. All right, making sure the left-hand side goes on the left-hand side. That didn't make sense, but that's fine. Oh, this is gonna be so freaking good. So our plates are all bolted up now. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it looks like we got all of our measurements right, because this looks awesome. Turns out measuring twice and cutting once actually works. So the last thing we need to do is weld in our supports that go from here to here. Then we should be able to remove the blocks and the stands, and the wing should sit all by itself on its new wing stands. Ruler. That was a funny noise. 145, 145, 145. The last piece of the puzzle ready to go in. So it's all tacked on, ready to go, and we can finally pull these axle stands out from underneath the wing and see it sitting by itself for the first time. I'm pretty happy with the whole setup back here. I mean, we don't know if it actually works yet, but... And of course, last but not least, the block of wood. Boom! Our wing is sitting by itself for the first time. Look at that. That is mega. Oh, how good. Before we get too excited, I'm gonna bolt these end plates on just so we get the full effect of the wing. Nope, that's definitely the wrong way around. Well, this looks absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, I absolutely love the look. I would say the only thing I don't like is probably the end plates on the wing, so I think we're gonna make our own custom end plates. These look a little too Super Mario Kart for my liking, but this thing is looking so damn cool. All right, we've done the front lip, we've done the rear wing, and this thing's kind of looking like it's got the big lip surgery, the big booty surgery, but it's kind of missing something in the waist. So we're gonna use these, which are part of the front lip, and we're gonna fix that problem by making some side splitters. So what I'm thinking is, we'll slot this under here, and I'm gonna try and make it as wide as possible without it looking weird. But this shape kind of goes with this shape, which is kind of nice. That's just a massive accident, which I'm very happy about. So we can kind of run them out as wide as we can, have it looking kind of nice and tidy, have these lines kind of similar through here, and then we'll just round it off through here to match this line here. And I think that'll just add the finishing touch to our whole Aero development that we've done on the kart in this video. So we're gonna make sure it's the same distance all the way around. So let's make it 45 mils. Gotta get the other side as well. Look at that, nice curve. Time to chop. Give her a quick tidy up with the flappy disc. All right, time for a test fit. So I was trying to figure out how we can get this thing high enough off the ground so I can drill underneath to fit the rib nuts for these splitters. But then I realized we have a hoist here, and this thing is probably big enough now that we can actually use the hoist to lift it up. So just for a laugh, I thought we'd give that a crack. So stupid. So we've got the front of the hoist under the frame, and then we've got the back of the hoist just going into the deep dish wheels here on either side. So let's push the button. Hey, it worked. Everything about this build is absolutely ridiculous. Time to throw the splitter on, see if it actually looks any good. Boom, just like that. And just like that, the kart is all done, but I'm gonna pull it outside so that we can take the photo for the thumbnail for this very video. So we may as well get an awesome montage of the kart as it sits while we're at it.
You know, it's kind of funny. I spent all this time and money building that fake Lamborghini, and don't get me wrong, I love that car. But then there's this thing, the drift kart. It's literally built out of spare parts, scrap metal, and whatever I could get my hands on for cheap. It cost a fraction of what the Lambo build did, but every time I'm working on it, I catch myself grinning like an idiot. It's loud, it's sketchy, it's uncomfortable, but it's fun. And that's kind of the point, right? You don't need to be spending crazy amounts of money to have a good time. Sometimes the jankiest, sketchiest builds end up giving you the best memories.
Well, Well, there you have it. Our not so little drift kart is looking absolutely epic. And as you just saw, I threw the motor and the turbo on for the thumbnail just for extra effect, but also it gives me that little bit of motivation to kind of see it all come together so I know what we're aiming for moving forward. Honestly, this thing is looking absolutely bonkers and I cannot wait to get it running and driving. The next thing we have to do, of course, is finish welding the frame and paint it. I do have an idea in mind for what color I want to paint this thing, and I also know now what turbo we're going to be using on this motor. Once we get the frame painted, we can do the final assembly, then I can start wiring this thing up and figuring out all the motor and turbo stuff. And we're absolutely going to throw this thing on the dyno. I can't wait to see what numbers it makes. I have read your guys' comments and I know we need to throw stiffer valve springs in this motor and maybe even a cam before we throw it on the dyno and wind all of the boost into it. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This thing is coming such a long way and it's looking absolutely awesome. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you're enjoying it. And I'm also thinking of bringing out some kart merch as well. I never really thought about it until today, but it would be kind of cool. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stoked that you guys are enjoying this series. I'm gonna go watch the Formula 1 now, but I'll see you guys in the next video. Yo! Peace! Bye! Man, this thing, it's come such a long way. It's so big now and it looks insane. Crazy Mario Kart vibes, but we need to get running. I want to ride this thing. See you in the next video. Bye! Bye!